You're listening to the Identity Sports Podcast, where we dive into the world of faith, sports, and inspiration with athletes from across the country. I'm your host, Zach Vogel. Hey guys, welcome back to the Identity Sports Podcast. We got a very special guest with you today in Baylor Giannini. But before we get started with that, I wanted to make sure you were aware of our upcoming events with Tales from the Tour on February 3rd at Scottsdale Bible Church and Tales from the Dugout on February 18th. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to see you at Scottsdale Bible Church, where we'll have professional athletes on stage sharing about life and faith on the tour. If you're not in at Phoenix, we do have the live stream available, so head over to our YouTube channel where you can get more details to that. But thanks for being with us today. You know, our special guest today is Baylor Giannini, former college baseball pitcher. If you can't tell, he's a little tall here, so we had to adjust the camera to make sure he's good. But Baylor, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so Baylor played college baseball at Glendale Community College, transferred to Arizona Christian University, where we actually met, played together for a couple of years, so got to know Baylor very well. So honored that he liked me enough to be able to do something like this.
Always love Vogel. Always love Vogel. Anything.
Yeah, we'll stay away from some of too much of the inside stories from then. But so then he went on to play in the Western Canadian Baseball League with the Regina Red Sox. And from there, went on to coach college baseball at Ottawa University and is now currently the high school baseball coach at the American Leadership Academy in West Foothills.
Yes, sir.
So it's been a time.
It's been a journey. It's been one heck of a little journey I'm on. And especially at 28, I feel like I'm 50. And it's been up and down, but I'm grateful. Grateful. Yeah.
It's so fun to see you in this environment now. I mean, just knowing you back in college and being like, man, that knucklehead Baylor. No, great guy. But then to see you now in a coaching position, I mean, I can't think of someone that's more prepared for something like that to be able to pour into these kids.
Yeah, I find myself taking everything that I learned growing up, you know, being goofy and stuff, and translating that into fun for these kids, but also the work ethic I learned from everybody, you know, as I was playing baseball and translating it onto the coaching side. I find it entertaining. I kind of love it a little bit more than when I played now, because it's just constant, always wanting to get better, always finding ways to get better, and I truly cherish like each day with it.
Yeah. And it's like Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham, one of his things that he's got in the locker room, you know, have more fun working harder than everyone else.
Yep.
You got to keep that fun aspect.
Yeah, that's what I tell. I always give them like fun nicknames too. I call them like my knuckleheads, my nerds, my like. I was like, hey, let's go, let's have fun, let's party. You know, that's what I want every day. You know?
That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into our Fast Facts segment. So take us into the Baylor Giannini highlight reel.
Oof.
What is one memory on the diamond that you feel yourself just reliving the most?
Oh man. I have two. All right. I have one where, and you're going to laugh at this. It was when I first pitched at Arizona Christian, finally got on the mound after everything I went through, throwing like the crazy thrower I was throwing when you first saw me.
We'll have to pull that video up for you.
I'll send you the video. And then after that, I got to hug my mom and dad after, because they were bawling their eyes out, because they were like, you know, we didn't think you, like, they knew I could do it, but like we had no idea if I'd be able to throw again, like just play for a team again. And then the second one is when I went 3 up, 3 down, 3 Ks in a row. The first game of my redshirt junior year, and I was screaming off that man, like just fired up. And it was a start to like probably my best year in college too. And those are the ones that replay a lot. Little memories with the team and stuff, and then especially in Canada, that's that part. But those two memories of playing, that's what I always relive. Yeah, in my head.
That's cool. Yeah, and I mean, I was there for one of them.
Yeah,
so
you were.
It was definitely a special time, and we'll dive a lot more into that story. There's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
So if you could, what is one lesson you learned from your career that has shaped you into who you are today?
Ooh, I think the biggest lesson is don't take anything for granted. Because everything happens so quick. And I remember my dad, he told me, he's like, dude, you got to have fun. You got to enjoy this. You have to enjoy this. Because I was so in like wanting to get better, obviously. But like I was so sucked into that space where if I don't enjoy this, I'm gonna look back 10 years from now and regret that I didn't enjoy it. So that's like the biggest thing that I take every day of my life, and I also translate to like my players. Like I want them to not regret this. Quit beating yourself up. Let's just have fun. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and especially at the high school level, that there's so much critical things happening
Oh, it's
just as
ridiculous.
a
Yeah,
person. I mean, they're
that's
figuring out who
yeah.
they are. They're starting like there's so much going on, and
Mm-hmm.
so to be able
Mm-hmm.
to like, hey, slow down,
Yeah.
enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
Don't put any more pressure on yourself. It's so fun and cool to. I wish I had that more
Yeah.
as a high school. Yep.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could pick any pitcher, past or present, who would you most enjoy to watch take the mound on a beautiful Sunday afternoon?
I would love to go back because I don't remember. I only remember him seeing on TV. I would love to go back and watch Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling because like when they were pitching, I was like 5 years old. I don't remember anything when I was five. So like I would love to see both of them pitch for the Diamondbacks just one more time. That'd be so fun to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're hoping two starting pitchers somehow get in the same
Yeah,
Sunday
I mean,
game.
well, hey, let's do it like they did in the World Series. Just go back to back. I
Yeah.
would love that.
I mean, given your size and being a lefty, you ever compared to Randy Johnson?
I wasn't like the craziest harder thrower. Like I could get, I was all right, but like, I just everybody was like, that's Randy Johnson just walking right there. I'm like, no, I'm not his kid or anything. It was silly. They thought I was his kid. I was like, no, I'm that guy's kid over there,
Yeah.
the police officer's kid, which I love. But I always had that comparison growing up. It was weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
those are
I
two.
get it.
Yeah. Well, and those are two good. I mean, I'm assuming those were some of the guys you emulated your game or looked after
Yeah.
too. And those guys were tenacious.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, on the mound, Kurt Schilling and the bloody sock. I
Yep.
mean, they went through almost like the Pete Rose. They walked through hell in a walked through fire in a gasoline suit to play baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah. What is your biggest lesson been transitioning from a player into a coach?
The biggest lesson, oh man, I would say, like as a player, you're with your buddies. When you're around players, you're like those are your boys. As a coach, you gotta be more of like I mean this is gonna be like just a tougher word because a father. You can't be their friend. I mean, you want to be their buddy, like you'll be there to take care of them, but you can't be like their friend. You have to be like their father figure, whether they have one or not. You have to be that kind of leader in that role because you have to be tough love. You have to show some discipline with them, and then you have to cheer them up. You have to be there. Like I've really learned that. I learned that especially when I was I started coaching when I was 24, and then I was coaching college kids. I was coaching kids my age, and they're all like, oh, let's go hang out, let's go get food. I was like, I can't do that. Like I'm your coach. I have to be that father figure or that mentor, and that's kind of the biggest lesson I've learned so far, and
Yeah.
translating that into coaching, from playing.
Yeah. There's a fine line where the jokes stop with the coach.
Yeah. You can still be a knucklehead with them, but you got to be like, all right, let's settle down here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And they can look up to you in that way. And then they find, at a certain point, there's got to be a serious switch, especially come game time. You can have fun, but the moment those lights turn on, it's go time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. What is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your life?
The biggest challenge? Oh man, the biggest
Loaded question.
Yeah, that's and you know probably the answer. The biggest challenge was literally relearning how to throw a baseball, learning how to surrender everything that I thought I had to control to God, and learning how to trust him day in and day out. Then that's like hard, especially when you're going through it at the age of 18. And like that was I was like the hardest thing ever. And then it became easier super fast. That's probably the challenge I learned how to deal with,
Yeah.
and then once you surrender it all, you're like, you just breathe and relax and kind of just go day by day. That's it.
Yeah. So literally to relearn to throw a baseball at 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had your whole life doing something one way and have to all of a sudden reconfigure, but also still perform. It's not like you took a bunch of years off to try and figure that out. You're trying to do it mid-season.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even get to that point?
So it happened my first college, like going in there, I was kind of the guy, I was the guy, like if I have a good year, we're going places. Um, and then one day my coach and I were in the bullpen and things kind of got tweaked while I was throwing that bullpen. It was before like a scrimmage against one of the junior colleges here too. And I threw okay, and then I was like, I just feel off, and then I threw one more game, and literally, if I would have put the catcher 60 feet away, the balls were going that way, and it was crazy. So like I had just no feeling, and then it was time after time. I couldn't get it figured out, and I was like, I can't throw the ball. Like I just can't throw the
Yeah.
ball. And my dad said we got to restart. Literally had to restart like I was a 5-year-old.
Yeah, because that feeling
Yeah.
then becomes a mental thing of
Oh
not
yeah.
being able to know where the ball's going.
Destroyed me. Destroyed. Crying every day. I literally, as an 18-year-old, you're like, you feel like you have to be a man, but like I was just bawling. I was like, I lost essentially my identity. And then like my dad was like, we just got to be on a knee. Let's be on a knee. Let's throw. Let's just play catch. I was like, all right. Just kept doing that, and did that for 6 months, and then stood up and started throwing, and then did that, and then took about a year and a half, to figure it out. And I still pitched in games while doing that, because they're like, okay, we need a body to fill, because I redshirted,
Hmm.
like we need a body to fill, and I would throw in the game, and I was like, okay, I'm not giving them any good looks right now, like this is ridiculous. So I was like, don't throw me in a game until I figure this out, and yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going through that. I mean, just even like take us a little bit into I mean, I know you said you were crying, but just
Mhm.
that mental side. I mean, because you're trying to figure something out, but you're also, you've got teammates and you've got coaches and you're trying not to let them down, but you're
Right.
trying to figure yourself out. I mean, share a little more into that.
Yeah, I remember like the school I was at, I had a lot of club ball teammates that I like grew up playing with go with me there. They were very supportive of me in that. They all loved me. I was kind of like at that point, I'm the tall guy, but that was like their little brother. That's I was grateful for that. But like just I felt like I wasn't giving them everything that they were giving me, and it crushed me. Absolutely crushed me. The coaches, a couple of my coaches were supportive of me, like they were that, but the other ones were like, I can feel they wouldn't say it, but I felt it. Like, what are we doing with this kid? Like,
Mhm.
I could feel that, and that just destroyed me too, dude. I remember I couldn't even like face them, like sit with them face to face at lunch. I would go eat my truck. That was it. Like, I just wanted to be alone, try to figure it out. I was jotting down my thoughts, and then yeah, it was pretty like destroying of my soul and my mind, because like I just every time if I threw one bad throw, it was like over. I
Yeah.
couldn't I couldn't figure it out. Um, and then like once I was released from that, I was like, all right, I got a new start. I got a new start, and that's when the ACU came in that picture there. And then that's when I was like, all right, I got a fresh start. These people are gonna think I'm weird when I'm throwing, but we're gonna figure this out and kind of take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was that release?
that release. So I remember, and it was November 2nd, 2015. They brought me in. I actually was throwing kind of normal there, like compared to what you first saw.
So a release from a team
Yeah,
is
released
what
to the
led
team.
to
Well,
that.
but
Okay.
like I felt released. Like I just felt like all right, like I was breathing fresh air. Like this is a new start. My mom and dad were like, all right, this is it. Like let's figure out what we can do. And I remember November 2nd, they said, hey, we just don't want you anymore. We're just gonna release you here. I was like, cool. I was like, I was sad, but I was like, you know what? We're gonna start something new. We're gonna start somewhere fresh, wherever that is. And I felt determined and more confident. So that's yeah. And then like literally 3 days later, I get the old email from Bill Swift, and that's when everything started taking off. Yeah,
Yeah. So that fast. I mean, you had like all of that turmoil, and then you just felt that like breath of fresh air of,
yeah.
man, I'm out of this basically toxic environment,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a new chance at life. And so then you're like, okay, I'm going to make this chance stick. And then what was the mindset going in? I mean, tell us like, what did your routine look like? Did it change at all when you went to ACU? How did you prep for that?
Yeah, it changed a little bit because like obviously there was no scholarship at all. So I was kind of like, all right, I got to earn my way. I got to work even harder. I had to commute I lived in Goodyear, and I had to commute all the way out to Phoenix Paradise area. And it threw a wrench into things. I'd wake up at 5 every morning. I'd eat, do whatever I need, and then I would go get to school about 8, and then I would have a time off where I would just do training stuff before practice. Then practice. I wouldn't be home till like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I remember I was like, "Whew, this is a grind. This is a grind, but I'm loving it. I'm actually loving it." And I like you and some of the other boys are taking me under their wing a little bit, and I was finding kind of my stride, finding a new confidence, and then like that first semester, that first like spring, it was up and down, but I was figuring myself out, which led into my sophomore year when everybody was like, "All right, we know that you have this much potential and we know you've been working hard. Let's add more." That's when Swift took me more under his wing and said, "Let's add this into it." And then that's where I started finding myself, like my baseball self again.
Hmm.
And then, but they weren't preaching baseball. They just said, "All right, just throw like this and build off that." I was like, "All right, cool." Like someone's actually giving me direction. But they said, "Let's go, hey, come hang out with us. Come talk with us." And then that's when like Bible studies come in the picture. And then that's when I started finding who I am.
Hmm.
And that's where it was a different work ethic, but it was a work ethic that I still hold with me. And like I would cherish those drives home every night, and like learning myself, like talking to myself, learning about myself and how God is using me in this moment, that, and then like the different work ethics I learned on the baseball field too in that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt you had the work ethic. I mean, the drive. I mean, you can see it in your eyes and the way you carried yourself of this guy means business. And everything you did, you took very seriously. And so it's cool to hear how you were working on that. Obviously, the results aren't going to come overnight, but then there was this kind of guys coming alongside you and building the character and the mental side of you and the spiritual side, that holistic
Yeah.
athlete of, hey, there's more to this. How can we pour into you? Not just because they saw your potential on the
Right.
baseball
Right.
field,
Right.
but they saw who you were as a person and they wanted to uplift that,
Mhm.
which pays dividends into where you're at now. I mean, was there any kind of like verses or anything you remember directly that really made an impact during that time?
I mean, the only verse that I knew was Philippians 4:13. But like then someone brought to my attention
Okay.
Joshua 1:9, and then be strong, courageous, do not be dismayed. For your Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I was like, oh, okay. Like they actually say be strong, courageous. Like I'm not just saying that to myself. Like I just thought I was like, you gotta be tougher. You gotta be tougher.
Mm.
I thought when growing up, I grew up as a Christian, but like I thought you had to be more gentle, more like soft spoken. I was like, but I can be who I am, be change some ways, but like I could be strong, courageous, be tough, not be so beaten down and like just kind of coasting because I just didn't know. I just thought I was like, what is that meaning? And then when my teammates took me under their wing with that I remember them preaching Joshua, and I remember them preaching that like that message. There was a night where we just preached on Joshua 1:9, and then I remember another night we talked just about the gospel and how Jesus changes you. And I was like, oh, I'm seeing that through people. I was like I didn't know Jesus all the way, but I can see that love and that care and that just respect for people through other people. And that's what like started changing my mind, like changing me and like understanding how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool because, yeah, you start to see that. You see that in the people, and you're like, I want that.
Yeah,
And
right.
especially, I mean, you touched on the topic of like sometimes when people look at Christian athletes, you can get the perception that, oh, you got to be soft, you got to
Right.
be gentle, but no, God calls you to play to the best of your ability. You may not be the best athlete,
Mhm.
but you're going to do everything within your will and your power within the rules of the game
Mhm.
to play the best that you can.
Right.
And so you can still be tenacious on the mound. You can
Right.
still have that fire and that adrenaline, that energy. Like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna kick your butt.
Right. Yeah.
But you're not
100%.
gonna beat them down. You're not gonna like
Right.
maybe talk trash and stuff like that. You're
Right.
still gonna
Yes.
uplift them.
100%.
But
Yeah.
there's that knocking down that stereotype of it doesn't mean that you're soft. And you look
Mhm.
at the disciples in the Bible, none of those guys were soft.
No, not at
I
all.
mean
Not at all.
the stuff that they went through in the jails and
Yeah.
man, there's a whole lot that went on in there. But so you're starting to figure it out on the mound. You're getting back to your normal self at Arizona Christian.
Mhm.
You get the opportunity to play in Canada. Tell us a little bit about that transition to I mean, did you start to feel like, hey, this is the Baylor I know?
Yeah.
Or did you even kind of still feel like, hey, there's some flashes of the baseball side, but I'm still a different person?
There was like and I'll go into like my sophomore year. I was starting to figure it out. My junior year, I remember, and this was after you left. You didn't get to see this little piece, but I remember I verbally like gave like my testimony. I didn't know how to do it, didn't know what I was doing, but I volunteered to do it, and I kind of like told like my story in that moment. And I remember I was like, oh, this is this is something that I think God really wanted me to do. Like the baseball side's cool, but I was like impacting people with what I just went through is like kind of like what I want to do now. And I was like while playing baseball. So during my junior year, I started sharing more and more. I started getting really good on the mound. I started being more free. And then my senior year, coaching change happens. I kind of start getting back into old habits. I started trying to impress people. I tried like I can't let these guys down, and then that kind of destroyed me. Kind of jumped back into it, and I was kind of like and then I started talking to Chambers full on almost every week for 2 times a week, and he kind of helped me through. He's like, you still haven't let go of everything.
Mm.
I was like, all right, and then I started going through that. I remember going to a prayer garden and being there for like 2 hours and just like kind of reading off what was on my mind. I wrote it all down, and I was letting it all go. And then I kind of had a good end to my senior year, and then Canada happens. And it was kind of like when I went from my first school to ACU, I was like, okay, I'm going from where people all know me now. Like everybody knows who I am as a Christian for being such a small campus. Like
Yeah.
especially I'm the tallest. I'm taller than every basketball player on this in the campus. And then I go to Canada, and I'm like, no one knows me. No one knows how am I going to make an impact here in Canada.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do my best on the mound, and I had probably the best outings of my life. I wasn't like the top guy, but like I was the guy that they could rely on, especially when we ran to the playoffs. But I was the guy every time they interviewed me, I was saying something about God. And I remember I lived with this. Her name was Rose. She was a grandma to her her grandson who lived with her too, and he was a baseball player. And she said, I kind of understood God and like because of you. She
Mm.
told me that one like one. I was like, never thought I was doing that like that. Like I didn't know I was having that impact on that. And that transition from Arizona Christian to Canada, I was kind of finding my own footing. I was finding like who I was, what I was here for, and I was like I talked about earlier, not like taking it for granted. I wanted to go full stride, make sure I was doing everything I can on the mound, but also like making a statement like, hey, this is God doing this through me. Like this is like all this that I've been through. This could be my last rodeo in baseball. And I was like, I'm gonna make sure that they know that God did this, not me. Like this is I'm the reason why he's here. Yeah.
Yeah. So your career ends in Canada. Was it just you knew right away that you were going to go straight into coaching? How did that journey start to unfold?
So it's interesting. There's a small part where I get back from Canada. I kind of I had that independently looking at me. And I was like, all right, let's just keep training a little bit, but I can't just sit at home all day and just train. Like that's not who I am.
Mm.
So I get into coaching at Ottawa as a volunteer. Um, he was like, yeah, you come be the pitching coach, hang out, get your training in, whatever you want. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just do like one more fall of training. If it happens, it happens. And then coaching's awesome. I got to coach under Tim Montez. Tim Montez was at the Division 1 level for many years. I got to if I can tell anybody to that wants to start coaching to do it right, go coach under somebody that has that full on experience because like you learn a lot. I learned more about pitching than I did playing. It was unreal. It was unreal. But I trained. I started coaching, and then I get the call that they wanted me to come play in that league. And this is January of 2020.
Good
And then
time.
yeah, it was a good time at that time. And then we were getting ready for the season. I was still training, still going, and then that March happens and 2020 happens, and that's kind of where I was like, oh snap, this might be it. This might be it for baseball for a while. Like we had no idea.
Yeah.
I actually got baptized during that April of COVID, which was amazing. And then I got hurt, and I was like, all right, we're done playing now.
Mm.
Like, this is it. I'm just gonna stick to coaching. And I knew that that was God telling me, like, hey, playing's done. Let's go. Let's go. Let's put you through here. Let's do this. And then I became the grad assistant. Got my master's paid for while coaching, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Wasn't really making money. Made a couple checks, with camps and stuff. But I was like, I don't care. I was like, I just want to coach. I want to put my foot in the door and see where this goes. And I was just trusting God with it every day. Met some amazing people, and yeah, it was awesome. And the best thing that I got to do was impact as many of these kids my age through coaching. I still talk to a lot of them today, and that was like the best thing ever because you as a coach, you don't, you're like, I don't want to be there. Like, I can't be their friend, but I want them to know that I cared about them, and I want them one day just call me just to chat. Like, just
Mm.
see what's going on if they ever need my help, and I'm grateful that that still happens today with those kids. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of that journey, through that little couple years there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just cool to hear how God had been preparing you. I mean, because most times when the playing career ends
Hmm.
and kind of abruptly, I mean, you
Yeah.
had a crazy thing with COVID and
Yeah.
then an
Yeah.
injury that comes, you had worked your whole life to get to that point
Yeah.
and for opportunities like that. But it didn't derail you. You kind of had, God, you knew that God was preparing you and you had, that solid foundation in Him
Mm.
to where, okay, I know what the next step is.
Yeah.
I'm prepared for this. And so then you meet, your wife and you got a baby on the
Oh
way.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're coaching at ALA out in, high school program that you
Mm.
started from scratch.
Hmm.
How do you go about building a culture from scratch?
Um, the the culture from scratch, especially, we are like one of the only schools without a baseball field. So it's a grind. It's a grind. But I remember getting the job before I finished at Ottawa, and I was like, you know what, this is kind of like the perfect setup for me. This is perfect setup for me because like I like coaching kids in college, but I'm also like their age. I need to get
Mhm.
older. I need to get a little bit older to go when if I ever want to go back there one day. So I was like, let's go this route. I want to impact kids that are younger than me, that are learning how to go through life of baseball, starting their journey. If they want to go past high school, that's what I want to do. And I remember day one, I coached the junior high too. So I was like, this is like my feeder team, and I wanted to set the culture right away. I said, our culture is building young men with great character, and young men that want to play baseball and want to have fun and want to get better because there's so many, you see it, there's so many kids these days that just, it's individual. I was like, it takes nine to make a team, and that's the culture I want. I want nine individuals that are saying we are one, like we are one together. And that's the standard that I know that all my players are doing. Like, they want to build that too. They all love each other, and I truly believe that they love each other because they tell me, and I'm grateful for that. But that's kind of the stone, like the culture I want to set in stone right away. You know?
Yeah. And how do you go about that? I mean, do you put an emphasis on that in practice? Are there
Hmm.
certain training materials? Is there homework? How do you build that?
I kind of kicked myself in the butt a little bit because like I didn't have like the team bonding aspect of it, but we built it in practice. Because like if I heard an individual kind of like, you know knocking themselves down, I was like, hey, go pick him up, and let him know that you got his back. Like, I would pick pieces, pick people, excuse me, and tell them, hey, we need to kind of have you be the leader. We need to have you bring everybody together. Because not all these kids know how to lead yet. I see that in you, and I would just pick that individual, and then they would take it in stride. If we were in a bad inning, for example, I
Mhm.
I wouldn't even have to go out there and tell them. When they were coming back in from the field to the dugout, they would rally up, and then I was like, okay, so this is what I should approach it, because I don't have to say everything. I want them to take control, and that's the
Mhm.
code. Like, I feel like that's what I worked at, and then this year I have a lot of like team bonding stuff that we're incorporating. Like, we have a couple things planned, but I got this multimedia team following us around, and they're doing fun things with them, and I can see the boys kind of just building more and more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's that ownership piece.
Yeah.
They feel like they own certain pieces and it gets them,
Hmm.
bought into the
Yeah.
program a lot
Yeah.
more. Yeah, that's so cool. What is something that you're looking forward to this year, like a goal for the team or you personally?
The big goal for me is, like last year, like was a big learning moment. It was our first varsity year. I'm grew up like my high school was like very tough going. Like baseball was everything at the high school. And I was like, all right, we gotta build that into this program, like where our team is the standard. And I feel like that everybody's kind of seeing like, okay, that's how you should act as an athlete. That's how you should act on and off the field as an athlete. I haven't had any problems with my high school kids. There's been a couple like with junior high, but like, they're seventh, eighth graders, they're knuckleheads, they have fun. But this year, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the past year's impact
Mm.
of that and everybody's kind of seeing that our baseball players are like that, how it's going to translate into this season. Because I truly believe that the more you do on and off the field, the more like reward and like the more good feeling that comes with it. Because if you're kind of a tool, like it doesn't really work out. Like it shows on the field. And like
Yeah.
I want these guys to know like being a good person on and off the field. And also I have a lot of kids that are believers, and we talk about God. We pray together, and I say like the more free you play, the more you trust God, and the more that you show God off this field and on the field, it translates to you playing free, being free together and playing together, like as in a better way. Whether you win or lose, like I said, obviously you want to win. I don't care. I want to build that winning culture, but I just want that winning culture to be them being awesome kids, them
Yeah.
being great together. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the groundwork and the framework is there.
Yeah.
Now it's just a thing of building on that.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I know I'm looking forward to seeing those kids grow and learn
Yeah.
in that, and it's a privilege to be under you and the lessons that they've learned and are going to learn from you just through your career.
Yeah, and they're gonna see. I mean, honestly, they're gonna grow with me big time this year because I have that new stage of life, just being put in the middle of the season now.
You're gonna be a
I'm gonna be a
dad.
dad. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole new ball game to me. They're gonna see how I react to that. I don't know how. Like I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna lose sleep. I'm gonna be running around. I know that I'm still gonna hold myself accountable, hold myself to the higher standard. But like they're gonna see me grow up quick, and they're gonna know like when I'm gone, like okay, how are we supposed to act while coach is gone
Mm.
when it's just the assistant coaches working. And that's why I'm really looking forward to seeing them grow to being those strong men. I got a lot of 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and then like there's a couple 17-year-olds on my team. How are those 17-year-olds going to lead these 15-year-olds? How are those 15-year-olds going to pick up those 17-year-olds when they're down? That's why I'm like, even when I'm gone, like for a week or two.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
That's
How,
important.
how are you guys going to navigate that as a
Yeah,
team?
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
that could be a big loss of not having your head coach, but the way that you build and prepare these guys,
Yeah,
that could be the biggest jump that you see in those guys is
100%.
making sure the ship is still running
Yeah.
while you're gone. And man, I'm excited for you. I
Thank
mean,
you, dude.
being a first-time dad, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
going to be hard. It's going to be challenging,
I'm
but
fired up for it.
yeah, but we're going to be praying for you and encouraging you. And I mean, you're used to 14, 15-year-old boys. Now you got a little girl on the way. I mean,
it's beautiful. I cannot wait, dude. That was so funny. Couple months ago, I had a student ask me. He's like, "Do you wish you were still playing baseball?" I was like, "Dude, no, no, because like I wouldn't have my wife, I wouldn't have my daughter, I wouldn't have found God the way I found Him, and like this is the stage of life that I honestly, as a kid, I dreamt of. I like when I prayed, like when I was learning how to pray, I'd pray to God like just make me the best I can, like for a dad or a husband one day, because that was like the end goal for me. Seeing my dad and how my mom were as parents, and then seeing how other parents were too. I was like, I want to be like a parent. I want to be a husband to my wife, and I'm doing that now, and I can't wait. That little girl's gonna be so spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's a lesson too for your baseball team too, just to see the way that you care for your
Yeah.
wife and your soon-to-be daughter. I mean, because I'm sure they're going to be hanging around the park too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, being a girl dad is pretty special,
Yeah.
and so welcome to the club.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's going to be great. But so one of the things that we want to do on this is we love to hear, other athletes' stories and coaches, but we want to also find ways to build you up as a person in your career. What are ways that we as listeners can pray for you and encourage you as you kind of head into this really big new season for you guys?
Yeah, the thing I ask is just pray for us to keep a level head. Pray for us to stay confident in who we are. Like I said, the baseball aspect, we face the adversity of every day of not having a baseball facility. Like my coaches and I put a baseball cage up. We got 2 mounds. We kind of sandlot it. We borrow some fields sometimes from like community parks. Just pray for those young boys to not be discouraged, to stay motivated. Because last year we went to the playoffs and like they got the idea like, okay, we can do something special. We just we can't harp on it. I've caught myself harping on, like kicking myself like, dude, if we have this, we have that, we're gonna be really good.
Yeah.
But like I just pray that we stay in stride. We don't discourage ourselves. We stay courageous and strong and trust God with each day. And then as a father, parent side, and then husband side, just keeping me focused on what's important, making sure that baby girl's taken care of, making sure my wife's taken care of, and making sure that we are staying together as a unit. Because like that, I always make sure I don't, fall off of that. But, obviously I'm going to be juggling a lot these next 4 months, and just keeping my head strong and level and knowing that God's going to take care of it, not to worry, and whatever happens, it's in his hands. That's because, it's easy to forget that, but I just ask that people pray for that and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, yeah, which that fires me up, honestly. I'm a big sleepover, stay up all night guy. Yeah.
Awesome. No, it'll be good. It'll be so fun for you guys. But thank you for taking the time to come on here and share. I know sometimes it's not easy talking about, the hardships and trials we've overcome, but I know people are going to be impacted through your story.
No, it's it was harder when I was younger because you were like, what are people going to think? But honestly, like sharing your story is the biggest impact that people can have. They gives them confidence to know like, oh, he went through this, and I'm going through this too right now. Like I can get through it. There's so many different stories, there's so many different trials, and I'm grateful that I found God through that trial, through that time. And if that's the hardest thing I'm ever gonna go through in life, then heck yeah, dude. Like that's awesome. God put me through it, and I know I can get through anything else.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and pray for us,
sir.
and then we can
Thank you.
be on your way. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you just for Baylor and his family, God, and what you've done in his life. I mean, I know just seeing it firsthand, I mean, it's been such an encouragement and such a testament to you and your goodness and everything you're doing in his life. Pray that you'll, for this next season in his life and his family's, God, that you will continue to prepare them and provide and show them and lead them in the way that they should go, and that even though there may be some sleepless nights and hardships, God, that you've got them, and that you will just continue to lead them, and the boys that they coach, that they'll just be encouraged to continue on the path, and when he comes back from the paternity leave and stuff, that they're ready to go, and that you'll just inspire them and help him encourage and kind of lead these boys into ultimately finding that identity, just as Baylor did in his career, and encourage them to, in this huge transition of their lives, to encourage them. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You're listening to the Identity Sports Podcast, where we dive into the world of faith, sports, and inspiration with athletes from across the country. I'm your host, Zach Vogel.